As we think of the Luke text that is read, I think you're probably wondering, after 2,000 years, is this going to be the sermon that cracks the code? And I'm here to tell you it is. We have it all figured out now. I think when we look at the first reading, which is familiar to us as well, we get these readings year in and year out, and we hear these about a land in deep darkness. Now, we're not as far north as some places, but we're gathering in this space not too many days after the winter solstice, the shortest day of the year, as we gather, and it's a little darker. It'll be darker yet by the time we get out the candles for that point in the service. We recognize that shortening of the day, but sometimes we feel that darkness in our bones, not just by the clock or looking out the window. We struggle at times. We show up this evening, each of us with our own story, our own narrative. This idea that there are days that are great and there are days that are not great. We come carrying all kinds of burdens and scars to this place and this time. We think of loved ones who are not here today, when we celebrated with them last year. We think of all kinds of hurts and pains and loss that we experience throughout our lives, and we bring those even as we dress up and wrap the presents and smile and sing with the music. There is loss and hurt that we feel. There is poetry in that language. A light shines in the darkness. In a land of deep darkness, light has shined. Deep darkness. We feel that. We definitely feel that. And in the midst of things, we think of Mary and Joseph. And I want you to step away a little bit from that Playmobil nativity set that you maybe have at your house. And I want to talk a little bit about what this would have looked like. There have been several cartoons cycling this year about Mary kind of giving Joseph the cold shoulder as he's madly working on his cell phone to find a room in Bethlehem, right? You said you got a room. It's not actually an inn. When we look at the Greek and the way Luke uses it elsewhere, where he talks about an inn and an innkeeper, it's not the word he's using in this text. It would be better to say a guest room. Mary and Joseph are in Bethlehem because this is the place where his people are from. The idea that they would be there for weeks or even a month or more in this place as they gathered. There is no way that family, no matter how extended, would not have opened their doors to this young couple. But likely in this time of travel, when they didn't want to travel, would rather have stayed home, showing up at a place where, who are these relatives? How do we know these people? There's no room in the guest room of the house, but as would have been typical in that time and place, think of the stable more as the garage of the house, where some of the animals would be kept for their safety in that same space. In a manger, perhaps fixed to the wall, that would be a safe place for a child to sleep. Instead, our image is Mary coming in all in white with her blue head covering. They're all alone in this stable where there aren't two cows, there's just one, and one donkey, and one of this carefully curated barnyard scene. No. This would have been messy. This would have been typically human. It would have been painful. There would have been women coming from the extended family to help. It would have been crowded. You can imagine the angst, the excitement, the fear, all of it. Just like that human story that we all know that happens every day of every year, right? The point of this story is not that Jesus was born to Caesar Augustus in Rome, not that it was somebody who fell out of the sky at age 30, but rather was born among us as one of us, just as we were. That is the image, that God came among us as one of us. That's an important aspect of our gathering on Christmas. This is not an image of Jesus and God as remote from us, but as one of us. As Elizabeth was saying in the children's sermon, we think of the shepherds who come, right? Don't be afraid, he's in a manger. That's not normally how we hear that phrase. Don't be afraid. This isn't the mayor's son. This isn't the emperor's son. Don't worry, shepherd. You'll find him lying in a manger. Oh, he's one of us. I get it. And so they go. It's interesting in the story that they don't take the baby, right? I mean, it seems obvious. We all know how the story goes. But the image is that Mary and Joseph and Jesus were well cared for in their place, not randomly in the garage of some inn because they couldn't get a room. Otherwise, the shepherds would have said, "You must come to our home." This image of God among us in the midst of our scars and hurts and loss. I think all of us have experienced a time where we have hurt. And it's been important to us to have a loved one come and be with us in that moment. This is God coming among us in the hurts of this world in a way that brings hope and love. As I was looking at the sermon for this evening, there was a news story that I saw a couple of days ago that I felt kind of summed this up. We can think of the hurts of our own lives, and we can think of the hurts of the world, the trauma and loss in the Holy Land, but also a story a couple of days ago out of Ukraine that I thought was kind of interesting. The Orthodox Church of Christianity, be it Greek, be it Russian, be it Ethiopian, observes Christmas on the 7th of January, always. That is when our Eastern siblings observe Christmas. But the Ukrainian Orthodox Church, in an effort to distance themselves a bit from Russia, this year has begun celebrating Christmas on the 25th of December. The thing that seems interesting to me about this is less the distance from Moscow, perhaps, but the desire to bring Christmas sooner, right? Do we have to wait till next year? I don't think I'm gonna make it to next year. Could it be this year? Could it be soon that God comes among us? I don't think I can wait any longer. There is something about the light shining in a land of deep darkness that speaks to that ache, that speaks to that hurt, and speaks, no matter the darkness, the joy of a newborn child and the hope and promise that God brings through him. Amen.